change at the top. The 32nd Chief of the Army Reserve relieves the longest-serving car in history, reassembling to reorganize, sustaining a high-quality operational Army Reserve. Lieutenant General Talley talks about Rally Point 32. They are the best of the best, and they proved it at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin this summer. The Army Reserve picks its 2012 Best Warriors. These stories and more ahead on this edition of Army Reserve Today. Hello, welcome to Army Reserve Today. I'm Major Melissa Toon. It was an event 6 years in the making. The Army Reserve has a new chief who also serves as Commanding General of the U.S. Army Reserve Command.
It was a spectacle of military traditions. Cannons fired. A bugler choreographed movements of soldiers and officials alike. And a marching band played martial tunes. It was Lieutenant General Jeffrey Talley's day, a day like no other in his career that saw him promoted to 3-star rank and taking command of the United States Army Reserve. The command flag passed to Talley from Lieutenant General Jack Stoltz, ending his tenure as the longest-serving chief of the Army Reserve. General Raymond Odiero, U.S. Army Chief of Staff, hosted the proceeding at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in front of the new dual headquarters building for U.S. Army Forces Command and U.S. Army Reserve Command. As the chief, Talley serves as the principal staff advisor to the Secretary of the Army and the Army Chief of Staff on all Army Reserve affairs. As the commanding general of the U.S. Army Reserve Command, he commands all Army Reserve units worldwide, a force of more than 205,000 soldiers and more than 12,000 civilians. Talley brings more than 30 years of active and reserve service to his new position with command experience in the United States, Iraq, Kuwait, and South Korea. He also has extensive work in the civilian sector in civil and environmental engineering, earning a doctorate from Carnegie Mellon University and multiple master's degrees.
So this concludes the ceremony.
For the U.S. Army Reserve Command, I'm Marty Martin.
Lieutenant General Stoltz became the 31st Chief of the Army Reserve in 2006 when he relieved Lieutenant General James Helmley. General Stoltz served longer than any of his predecessors. It is an old way of doing business in the Army, but it's a new way for the Army Reserve. Lieutenant General Talley developed the concept for the Army Reserve's way ahead before he assumed command, and he calls it Rally Point 32. He adopted the principle from the Army Ranger Handbook as his inspiration for the program. A rally point is used by leaders as the place where the unit can reassemble and reorganize. He says the Army Reserve needs to rally to ensure we can maintain our unique capabilities and capacity moving forward as an operational Army Reserve.
When you're on the objective and you're in combat, one of the things that we occasionally will do after we've been fighting long and hard is we'll stop and we'll rally to get new guidance and direction, to redistribute ammunition, other resources, and then we continue on to the objective to win the fight. There's something in Rally Point 32 for you. All right? So if a soldier picks us up and says, what does Talley want us to do? Just look at the pictures. It's that easy. See the pictures of all those wonderful soldiers, leaders, and units in action? Just do that stuff. If you do what's in those pictures in your respective area of expertise, you'll be a hero. Because that's what the Army looks for us to do, and that ties in that technical capability and a tactical environment. If you say, well, okay, the pictures are good, but I'm looking for a little more meat on the bone, then you go to the panel to the right, and you'll see both military terminology and civilian terminology under each headings: engineers, logistics, military intelligence, etc. And that's to get people to realize that we're a whole lot more than just military capability. And so I wanted to list both military and civilian capability because, as I want to keep emphasizing, you need to be the best and the brightest in your civilian capacity. I do not want you to be a great Army Reserve leader at the expense of your civilian career. If you do that, you've made the wrong choice. Put your family first. Put your civilian job second. Put the Army Reserve third. If you do that, you will do so much more for our Army than you ever could have imagined by putting the Army Reserve first in your professional and personal life.
53 soldiers from across the country descended on Fort McCoy, Wisconsin this summer to compete for the honor of being named the Army Reserve's Best Warriors. The 2012 Army Reserve Best Warrior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year is Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Rios from Ozone Park, New York. He represented the 84th Training Command. Best Warrior Soldier of the Year is Specialist Michael Swan of Gurley, Alabama, who represents the 335th Signal Command.
You know, the competition was so spread out, and you didn't know how you were doing, that, you know, you got to the end there, and you had no idea.
I was just so excited because I trained so hard.
Good job.
And it paid off.
Rios and Swan will represent the Army Reserve in the Army's Best Warrior competition in October at Fort Lee, Virginia, October the 15th through the 18th. The Deputy Chief of the Army Reserve received a very special honor from one of the nation's most prestigious organizations. Master Sergeant Dave Thompson of the 75th Battle Command Training Division in Houston reports.
An Army Reserve General garnered national recognition for her past work in promoting equal opportunity. But even while accepting a Distinguished Service Award at the NAACP's annual conference, Major General Marcia Anderson, Deputy Chief of the Army Reserve, used her public appearances in Houston to help educate event attendees on the challenges faced by post-9/11 veterans as well as current reservists.
As we know, a lot of our folks, as I say, infantrymen, combat engineers, military police, human resource specialists, healthcare specialists, food services specialists. As I mentioned earlier, although we know that those individuals have gone through extensive training and schooling in the military, when they come out, they either have to jump through additional hoops, and it can be very discouraging for them because they already know how to do this.
Anderson, who is the highest-ranking African-American female in the Army's history, was presented with the Benjamin Hooks Distinguished Public Service Award. During her time in Texas, she also visited with current service members and veterans. Anderson says many resources are already available and more initiatives are being considered every day.
Well, one of the main tools is the Employer Partnership of the Armed Forces. And this was created, as you may know, by Lieutenant General Stultz several years ago while he was CAR. And the intent was to find employers who were committed to hiring veterans. The White House also has an initiative going forward. You may have heard of the VOW Act and all the transition and support that's provided there. So there are a lot of ways that soldiers can help themselves.
Reporting in Houston for the United States Army Reserve, I'm Master Sergeant Dave Thompson.
Army Reserve Today. We'll be right back in a few moments.
One of my soldiers committed suicide last year. I had just gotten done speaking to him on the phone, and I gave him some news he had been waiting to hear about a school he had applied for. He was very excited when we spoke, and as far as I knew, everything was going well with him.
I had a friend who I used to go swimming with all the time, and when we went, we used to just hang out and have a good time, and this guy was always funny, always laughing around, just great attitude, positive guy. And the next day, after we went out swimming one day, he shot himself. And his parents found out that he shot himself because the bullet went through the wall into the room. There were no warning signs. At least that's what we thought at first, but the reality could have been that maybe we weren't looking.
Someone I knew was involved in a motorcycle accident. He was in a coma for a couple of months. And when he finally came to, he kind of, observed himself and realized, hey, I don't have a leg, and I have to wear this headpiece. This is not how I want to live. I got 2 young boys.
Suicide is all about pain. And the problem with that kind of pain, it's hard to see. We don't see that pain. We see a physical pain, but we don't see that pain that's going on in somebody's heart. Sometimes these warning signs are very subtle, and if we catch them early enough, then we can lead that person to obtaining help and assistance to the point where we may be able to prevent a possible suicide.
Sometimes they lose their way, and when you care about someone, it's your responsibility to bring them back there.
For a long time I thought, I wonder if there was something that I could have done or said that would have changed the outcome.
It's about caring. It's about showing people that they can trust you enough to open up to you.
People need to know that they're cared about, that they mean something to somebody.
We all are, I think charged is a strong word, but it's a proper word here. We are all charged because of our membership in the Army to actually look at and take care of and be observant for our fellow soldier. Part of our job is to recognize that a person who's considering suicide is in some sense wounded in their heart or in their mind.
And I was just like, I need you. I need you here. I need you with me. And the option for us to give up is not here. And I put it as a team, so he didn't have to feel like he was alone. He was in it with me. I was in it with him. I needed him to survive. I needed him to make it.
Welcome back. The National Basketball Association playoffs are always a pretty big deal, but this year's duel for the championship title between the Miami Heat and the Oklahoma City Thunder was even bigger, and they had an Army Reserve connection.
For the NBA Finals in Oklahoma City and Miami, NBA Entertainment teamed up with the United States Army Reserve to provide our nation's heroes with a look into careers in sports video production. The effort marks the launch of a program partnership that going forward will be managed by the Employer Partnership Office, the Office of the Chief Army Reserve, and the Sports Video Group.
Yeah, I'm Major General Bo Young. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Army Reserve. A few years ago, we started a program called the Employer Partnership. It's a program designed to reach out and link soldiers and the skills that they have that we've helped them develop through the military to employers who need the same kind of skills.
My name is Brigadier General Mike Smith. I'm the commander of the 800th Military Police Brigade. Here at the NBA Finals, a great partnership starting up between the U.S. Army Reserve and the SVG group, along with the NBA.
There's a huge wealth of experience and talent in the military that companies like NBA Entertainment could utilize.
Oh, it's been great technical training and exposure to the business. It's a great opportunity to check it out and see all the moving parts and see if it's something you want to pursue or not.
My cameraman actually takes care of the world feed. Anytime that he gets up, I will be pulling the cable behind him, letting it out, and then recoiling it, putting it back behind him.
In the truck, they get basically all the cameras that are taken, as you see here, there's a camera there, the sky cam, and plus the cameras right here. And when it goes to the truck, they have a director that tells which video feed to go out to the actual TVs.
This will give many people an opportunity that they would never have had before, an opportunity to network with everyone here. This is going to open up all sorts of jobs for all of these vets who might not otherwise have one in the civilian world.
I got this opportunity through the reserves. Every time I meet somebody, I'm just like, well, I thank you and I appreciate this opportunity to just be out here. I mean, I could have just been towel guy and I'd been okay with that.
You can see the excitement in their eyes, just where they are, they realize what they're doing, how important this is, and how their military skills link into civilian possibilities and opportunities in the sports production field.
This has been absolutely incredible. If you would have told me two and a half weeks ago that I would be here right now, I wouldn't have believed you.
I'm at the finals in my hometown, so that's great.
A special thanks to the NBA for providing that story. A 200th Military Police Command soldier represented the U.S. in the first International World Cavalry Championship held in Poland.
Tucked away on a small ranch in Poznan, Poland, Master Sergeant Cindy Babb rides and jumps and lances.
This is the World Cavalry Championship. It has many different parts and events to it. It has dressage, jumping, cross country for the military, the Polish military. There was a scouting trial along with the skill at arms.
The events are modeled after the Polish Army's cavalry skills. Each year, the Polish use these events to celebrate and commemorate the old Ujan regiments. This year, they invited their allies to join.
The international celebration, okay, it's maybe like that a few of our colleagues abroad, very often used to drop us that event just as a visitor. And I have noticed that they are a little green with envy that they cannot join us, yes? So
the United States joined the competition, sending the only North American competitor, the only female competitor, and the only actively serving military competitor.
I didn't realize that I would be all of those, but I was, and I'm very honored that I had this opportunity.
And an opportunity like this presents more than just a chance to compete.
Competition is only an excuse to meet our friends.
New friends set aside, Babb knew what she was there to represent.
Yeah, once again, the 200th wants to lead the way, and they sent me to do so.
From Poznan, Poland, Specialist Katie Summerhill, 200th Military Police Command.
A warm fire feels great, but be safe around the home this winter. Only burn seasoned hardwoods. Use space heaters as directed and never leave one unattended. Have smoke detectors on each floor and test the batteries, because safety awareness shouldn't be put on ice.
In today's Army, it's more important than ever to know the signs you or your buddies are at risk. Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. After every visit I make with the troops here in the States or overseas, I'm always struck by how deeply you care for one another. You know who has your back outside the wire, but what about in the thick of the fight at home? Accidents remain the #1 killer of soldiers during their off-duty time. Compounding the tragedy is that in almost every instance, someone will have seen the signs that a soldier was in trouble long before the loss. You know the signs of risky behavior: drinking too much, speeding, driving without a seat belt, riding without personal protective equipment, and many others. Your challenge now is to act on them. Whether it's you or your buddy, make the effort. Both your family and theirs are counting on you to do the right thing and bring everyone home. Know the signs. Know what's right. Do what's right.
While hunting in the great outdoors, keep safety firmly in your sights. Avoid hunting alone. Check your equipment. Dress for the worst possible weather conditions. And always wear a brightly colored hunting vest or hat. That way, when it comes to fun, you'll always bag your limit.
Army Reserve soldiers from Arlington Heights, Illinois got a chance this summer to help an old ally celebrate 2 historical events. Sergeant First Class Osvaldo Sanchez explains.
Located in a valley of northeastern France lies the village of Val d'Ajol. The 85th Army Band, a U.S. Army Reserve band based out of Arlington Heights, Illinois, is here to perform during the French holiday Bastille Day. Bastille Day is celebrated as the flashpoint of the French Revolution. But the village also adds to the holiday as a day to honor the American troops that sacrificed it all to help liberate the land from the Nazis. A native of France invited the band and coordinated the weekend events.
You know, they are extremely
wonderful ambassadors. So they represent, each of them represent the United States, and I'm very proud of them, you know, to be here to show the French that the savoir-faire of the American band.
A concert band started the evening festivities. From patriotic melodies to swing tunes from a bygone era, the crowd shows their appreciation of their American guests. Whether at home or abroad, the U.S. Army Band continues to be the link to the public, displaying and sounding American pride. Reporting for the 88th Regional Support Command Public Affairs, I'm Sergeant Osvaldo Sanchez, Val d'Ajol, France.
Retirement from the military is a life-changing event that raises a lot of questions for soldiers and their families. The Army Reserve is taking steps to ensure those questions get answers. Staff Sergeant Doug Anderson of the 318th Public Affairs Operations Center has this report.
A joint Army Reserve National Guard pre-retirement seminar was held on Fort Snelling, Minnesota, April 21st for 210 soldiers and their families. The event is one of several to be hosted by the U.S. Army Reserve Command, and it allows soldiers who are near retirement to learn more about available benefits and opportunities for Army retirees.
But we're trying to educate the populace to come in at least 24 months to a minimum of 12 months out before they get ready to retire to receive this information so they're informed.
For attendees who have not prepared for retirement, this seminar gives them a chance to be proactive about their situation and arms them with information. Some of the topics include Reserve Component Survivor Benefit Plans, Employer Partnerships, TRICARE Medical, Transition Assistance Programs, and education.
I've been talking about the education benefits with the education because I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to transfer it to my children.
They've served their country for over 20 years. They are elite citizens, and their service is truly appreciated. They're going to be missed in uniform, and we want them to have the best in their retirement.
The seminars are held bi-monthly within the United States and will soon expand to Puerto Rico and overseas. From Fort Snelling, Minnesota, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Doug Anderson.
The U.S. Army Reserve Command now has a retirement services office to help soldiers and their families ensure they receive the benefits they've earned. Ernest Stripling, the program manager for the Retirement Services Office in the USARC G1, says that all soldiers need to take advantage of their benefits.
We need retirement service officers because in each soldier's life cycle they go through a transition, and retirement is one of the transitions. And we're emphasizing more on retirement transitioning due to the fact that we're having drawdowns and reductions and so forth. So it's important that soldiers and family members and retirees and survivors understand their entitlements and benefits. So that is why the Army Reserve needs retirement service officers.
USARC headquarters is not the only place retirement services are being offered. Retirement services offices are now in each of the 4 Army Reserve Regional Support Commands to help soldiers receive the support they deserve during the transition from military to civilian life. For more information about retirement and your options, see your chain of command.
I'm General Jeff Talley, and this is my Command Sergeant Major Mike Schultz, and would like to share with the Army Reserve family a message about resilience. You are the strength of our Army Reserve, and each of you are a vital member of our team. People often ask us, what keeps us up at night? Our response is always the same: the loss of a soldier to the enemy, suicide.
The Army Reserve has suffered the loss of too many soldiers to apparent suicide. Each suicide is a personal tragedy for all those affected by the loss of life. General Talley and I are asking our leaders at all levels to do whatever it takes to prevent these tragedies. We all need to get involved in the lives of our soldiers and show them that we care deeply. And if needed, help is available.
Leaders must foster an environment of genuine care and concern for their soldiers, civilians, and family members. And all of us must take deliberate action to promote healthy command climates that reinforce that the Army is our family and that suicide is preventable. I want to emphasize that seeking help for personal issues is a true sign of strength and maturity.
Behavioral health issues are just as important as physical health issues. It's necessary to keep individuals and the team at the top of their game. We're looking at every approach to address the many challenges that our soldiers, families, and civilians face.
Families stick together and they help each other. The Command Sergeant Major and I are committed to using all resources available to defeat the enemy, suicide. Twice the citizen.
Army strong.
A new Army Reserve facility near Chicago is going green in a big way. Staff Sergeant Doug Anderson reports on the opening of a new training center in Joliet, Illinois.
And cut.
And with the snip of scissors, the U.S. Army Reserve officially opens its first fully functional solar-powered training facility this week in Illinois. The new Joliet U.S. Army Reserve Training Center will be home to 600 quartermaster and transportation personnel. The $36 million, 60,000 square feet complex was built as a modernization effort and as part of the Army Green Initiative.
Well, the Army in general, the federal government, is on this green initiative where we're trying to make ultimately our facilities net zero. So we're not expending any extra money for water, energy, and disposal. And we're able to do that self-contained in our own footprint.
Key to this initiative is the use of photovoltaic arrays, or solar panels. The facility is a pioneer of their use in the Army Reserve.
Solar array is designed to produce 150,000 watts hours of electricity per year. That is approximately 80 to 90% of the electric load of the facility itself. Not only is this a big step for the Army, but it's a big step for the Army Reserve in partnering with the communities on a higher level than what we're accustomed to. Instead of just implanting ourselves in there, we're really becoming an integral part of the community.
And as one local official expresses, the military and civilian partnership makes for a better relationship and mutual respect all around.
Not only is it an economic, a dynamic part of our economics in the village of Elwood, but we also feel it is our duty and our responsibility as citizens of the United States to support our armed forces and our troops. And I think that this is an extension of that, and we look forward to having them here.
From the new Joliet U.S. Army Reserve Command Training Center, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Doug Anderson.
The Director of Selective Service System addressed a dining out for the 104th Training Division's 1st Battalion 334th Regiment held at Fort McCoy. Staff Sergeant Anna D. Claudio of the 366th Mobile Public Affairs Detachment has the story.
The 1st of the 334th Training Support Battalion received a special visitor recently while training at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. Director Lawrence Romo is the 12th Director of the Selective Service System appointed by President Barack Obama. Director Romo spoke to troops at their dining in and says the partnership between the Selective Service and Army Reserve is important for his mission.
If Department of Defense would say, hey, we need manpower for whether it be active duty or the reserves, we would have to bring people in. So the Army Reserve plays a very integral part along with our other sister services.
Soldiers enjoyed some downtime after their annual field training exercise this week. Commander Lieutenant Colonel William Brazil says this dinner highlights his battalion's accomplishments.
Nothing pleases me more to award soldiers for their great efforts, and this is just one way of doing it.
Reporting from Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, I'm Army Sergeant Anna D. Claudio.
In times of a major global conflict, Selective Service would provide a pool of registered civilians to be trained as soldiers. There hasn't been a draft since 1973, but if there ever needed to be one in the future, Army Reserve training battalions like the 334th would train draftees. And that will do it for this episode of Army Reserve Today. For more information about the Army Reserve, check us out online at www.usar.army.mil. You can friend us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at U.S. Army Reserve. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in the U.S. Army Reserve Command, I'm Major Melissa Toon. Thanks for watching.